The supermarket? Cashier's hands trembled as she counted. The coins for the third time. Behind her, a little boy tugged at his mother's worn coat, whispering words that would change everything. Marcus Wellington had built his fortune the hard way, starting with nothing but a food truck and a dream, transforming it into a chain of restaurants that stretched across 3 states. At 42, he'd achieved what most people only fantasized about. But success had a price. His 12-year-old son, Tyler, barely knew what it meant to want for anything. Designer sneakers, the latest gaming consoles, private school education, these were just Tuesday afternoons in the Wellington household. That's precisely why Marcus found himself standing in line at Riverside Grocery on a cold November afternoon, teaching Tyler what he called reality lessons. No driver, no bodyguard, no platinum card. Just a father, a son, and a grocery list that included ingredients for their Thanksgiving dinner. Tyler had rolled his eyes at first, complaining about why they couldn't just have their chef prepare everything like always. But Marcus had insisted. Some lessons couldn't be taught in a mansion. The line moved slowly. Marcus glanced at his watch, already mentally calculating how much time this was taking from his conference call, scheduled for later. Tyler was busy on his phone, likely texting his friends about how his dad was making him shop like regular people. Marcus was about to say something about the phone when he noticed the woman ahead of them. She was young, probably in her late 20s, with tired eyes and a threadbare jacket that had seen better winters. A little girl, no more than 6, clung to her leg while a boy around 8 or 9 stood close by, carrying a small bag of potatoes like it was made of glass. The woman's cart held the basics: bread, milk, a few canned goods, and sitting prominently in the corner, a frozen turkey. Marcus watched as the cashier scanned each item, the total climbing on the register's screen. The woman's face grew more tense with each beep. When the cashier announced the total, $67.43, the woman opened her wallet and carefully began counting bills and coins. 42, 43, her voice was barely audible. 47, she recounted. The color drained from her face. I'm sorry, could you remove the turkey? The little girl looked up, confused. But Mommy, you said... Sweetie, not now, the woman whispered, her voice cracking slightly. The boy, older and more aware, placed a hand on his sister's shoulder. That's when Tyler heard him say it, so quietly that Marcus almost missed it. It's okay. Emma, she can't buy a turkey? We'll have sandwiches for Thanksgiving. The words hung in the air like frost. Marcus felt his chest tighten. He glanced down at Tyler, who had stopped scrolling and was staring at the family ahead of them. For a moment, the boy who had everything looked at the boy who had been taught to expect nothing, and something shifted in Tyler's expression. The cashier removed the turkey, adjusting the total to $34.18. The woman paid, took her bags, and ushered her children toward the exit. The little girl was crying softly. But everyone has turkey on Thanksgiving. Marcus looked at his son. Tyler was still watching them leave, and for the first time Marcus could remember, his son looked genuinely uncomfortable, not bored, not annoyed, but deeply, profoundly unsettled. Dad, Tyler whispered, we have to do something. Marcus had planned this shopping trip as a lesson in humility, a chance to show Tyler how most people lived, but he hadn't expected to feel this gut punch of emotion himself. He'd written plenty of checks to charities, attended fundraising galas, even established a scholarship fund. But this was different. This wasn't abstract poverty in a presentation or statistics in an annual report. This was a mother choosing between feeding her children and giving them a holiday memory. Wait here, Marcus said, handing Tyler the cart. Don't move. He walked quickly to the manager's office at the front of the store, his mind racing. 5 minutes later, he emerged with the manager, a sturdy woman named Patricia who had worked at Riverside Grocery for 20 years. They spoke briefly to the cashier, who nodded and picked up her phone. Tyler, come on, Marcus called. His son hurried over, eyes wide with questions. What are we doing? You wanted to do something. So we're doing something. They abandoned their own cart and headed for the parking lot. Marcus scanned the cars until he spotted the woman loading her bags into an old Honda Civic with a dented bumper. He approached carefully, not wanting to startle her. Excuse me, ma'am? She turned, immediately defensive. Yes? My name is Marcus Wellington, and this is my son, Tyler. We couldn't help but overhear what happened in there. The woman's face flushed. Look, we're fine. We don't need charity. I understand, Marcus said gently. And I respect that. But here's the thing. My son and I came here today because I wanted to teach him something about being grateful for what we have. And you know what? You just taught him something far more valuable than I ever could. The woman looked confused. Tyler stepped forward, surprising even Marcus. Your son, Tyler said, his voice shaky but earnest. He was so nice to his sister. He didn't get mad or make her feel bad. He tried to make it okay. And I was thinking, we have everything, and I complain about stupid stuff all the time. The woman's eyes began to well up. That's sweet, honey, but... Please, Marcus interrupted. The store manager is waiting inside. She's going to help you fill a cart with everything you need for Thanksgiving, turkey, all the fixings, everything. It's already taken care of. I can't accept that, the woman said, but her voice wavered. Why not? Tyler asked. If someone wanted to do something nice for you? The little girl tugged at her mother's jacket. Mommy, can we have turkey? The woman looked at her children, then back at Marcus and Tyler. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't even know what to say. Say yes, Marcus said softly. And maybe, when you're in a position to help someone else someday, you'll remember this moment and pay it forward. What happened next was something Marcus would never forget. The woman accepted, and they all went back inside together. But Marcus didn't stop at Thanksgiving dinner. With Patricia's help, he filled an entire cart. Fresh produce, meat, cereal, pasta, everything a family needed. Then another cart. The woman protested, laughed, cried, and finally just stood, there shaking her head in disbelief, while her children danced around the shopping, carts like they'd won the lottery. When it was all bagged and loaded into her car, which Marcus also arranged to have serviced at a local mechanic, courtesy of a friend who owed him a favor. The woman hugged Tyler so tightly that the boy's face turned red. You're a good kid, she told him. Don't ever lose that heart. As they drove home later, Tyler was unusually quiet. Marcus glanced over at his son, who was staring out the window. What are you thinking about? That boy, Tyler said. He's my age, maybe younger, and he was ready to just not have Thanksgiving, like it was normal. For some people it is, Marcus said. That's messed up. Yes, it is. Tyler turned to look at his father. Can we do this again? Like find other families who need help? Marcus felt a lump in his throat. This was the lesson he'd hoped to teach, but somehow it had grown into something bigger than a simple shopping trip. Yeah, Marcus said. Yeah, we can definitely do that. That Thanksgiving, the Wellington family dinner looked different. Tyler had insisted they invite their housekeeping staff, the gardener, and anyone else who might be spending the holiday alone. He'd also started what he called Tyler's Turkey Project, using his social media to raise money for families in need. The story of what happened at Riverside Grocery spread, not because Marcus publicized it, but because the woman, whose name was Sarah, posted about it online. She'd been a single mother working 2 jobs after her husband left, struggling to keep her kids fed and housed. That one act of kindness had given her more than groceries. It had given her hope. Marcus received hundreds of messages. Some people called him a hero. Others criticized him for showing off. But none of that mattered. What mattered was the look on Tyler's face when he came home from school and announced he'd organized a food drive. What mattered was that his son had finally understood that wealth meant nothing if it didn't lift others up. Sometimes the smallest moments create the biggest changes. A whispered sentence in a grocery store line. A decision to step forward instead of walking away. The courage to let someone help you when pride says to refuse. And sometimes, just sometimes, a father trying to teach his son about humility ends up learning that the greatest lessons are the ones we never planned to give.